Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Anil Thomas. Coming up in the next 60 minutes. India's Prime Minister advises students to compete with themselves and not others in Pariksha Pe Charcha. Urges parents against treating their child's report card as their visiting card. Three US troops killed in drone strike on US base near Jordan's border with Syria in Middle East. US President blames radical Iran-backed militant group while Iran denies involvement. Crisis hit Chinese property giant Evergrande ordered to liquidate by Hong Kong court. Developer with $300 billion in debt fails to provide restructuring plan. And in Hockey5s Men's World Cup, India thrashed Jamaica 13-0 to enter the quarterfinals. While India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with school students, teachers and parents at the 7th edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha 2024 in the national capital today. The interactive program saw the participation of nearly 3,000 students. With the final examinations for various primary and high school standards due in the coming months, participants discussed issues and concerns related to the matter with Prime Minister Modi. Earlier, Prime Minister visited the art and science exhibition put up by the school children in New Delhi's Bharat Mandapam. Well, the students getting an opportunity of their lifetime to present the tech innovations that they have made, and after a stringent process where these kids participated in competition, they have finally managed to make the cut, and a moment that every young mind making presentations, bringing those tech innovations there before the Prime Minister is going to remember for the rest of his life, and Prime Minister taking time out from his busy schedule, listening to these young innovators, bright minds of India as they bring solutions, technological innovations which could help India in its journey into development. Teaching students the importance of healthy competition, Prime Minister Modi during his interaction said that one should take inspiration from friends who are talented and one should never allow any feeling of jealousy to enter one's mind.
मान लीजिए 100 मार्क्स का पेपर है, अगर आपका दोस्त 90 ले गया तो क्या आपके लिए 10 मार्क बचा है क्या? आपके लिए 10 मार्क बचा है क्या? आपके लिए भी तो 100 है ना? तो आपको उससे स्पर्धा नहीं करनी है, खुद से करनी है। खुद से करनी है कि वो 100 में से 90 लाया, मैं 100 में से कितना लाऊं। उससे द्वेष करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है। एक्चुअली तो वो आपके लिए इंस्पिरेशन बन सकता है। और अगर यही मानसिकता रहेगी तो क्या करेंगे आप? अपने से तेज तर्रार व्यक्ति को दोस्ती नहीं बनाएंगे। आप ऐसे जिसकी कुछ चलती नहीं बाजार में उसी को दोस्त बनाएंगे और खुद बड़े ठेकेदार बन के घूमते रहोगे। सचमुच में तो हमसे प्रतिभावान दोस्त ढूंढने चाहिए। हमने जितने ज्यादा प्रतिभावान दोस्त मिलते उतना हमारा भी तो काम बढ़ता है, हमारा स्पिरिट भी तो बढ़ता है। और इसलिए कभी भी हमने इस प्रकार का ईर्ष्या भाव कतई ही अपने मन में नहीं आने देना चाहिए। किसी भी प्रकार के प्रेशर को झेलने के लिए सामर्थ्यवान बनाना चाहिए। रोते बैठना नहीं चाहिए। मान के चलना चाहिए कि जीवन में आता रहता है, दबाव बनता रहता है। अगर जीवन में चुनौतियां न हो, स्पर्धा न हो, तो फिर जीवन बहुत ही प्रेरणाहीन बन जाएगा, चेतनाहीन बन जाएगा।
But for more on the story, we've joined by our correspondent Kriti Vadera joining us live. Kriti, good afternoon. Kriti, let me begin by asking, prior to this edition of, Pariksha Pe Charcha, there could be many worries that kids would have. Do you now feel, after listening to the Prime Minister and the tips that he has given, are they ready as exam warriors?
Well, good afternoon, Anil. And yes, we are at iconic Bharat Mandapam, and for the first time in history of Pariksha Pe Charcha, this discussion of examination has happened today in Bharat Mandapam, and that's how PM started his conversation. And before I tell what all was discussed, I'm surrounded by so many students here from different schools who were participants for today's Pariksha Pe Charcha. Let me go to them and ask them what they have perceived from today's Pariksha Pe Charcha for their examination journey. So what are you taking away home from today's PM speech?
So what I'll take away from today's speech by the respected Prime Minister is to challenge the challenges that we face, because more than just exams, you're going to face a lot of other parikshas in life. And I also would like to mention that I absolutely loved the connection that I felt with the PM, how relatable he was. And respectable sir, it felt like he knew what went on in every Indian household. He knew what our parents say, what our teachers say, the pressures that we face. And I feel like that was really lovely, and I absolutely loved the conversation.
Yes, certainly PM was giving examples from his day-to-day life, and a lot of peer pressure was also discussed. What are you taking home today from this?
What I comprehended from what our Prime Minister today said, that there is a lot of pressure by the institutions upon us, by our parents, by our schools. This pressure piles upon us, and it creates mental illnesses such as depression and anxiety. So what I really loved about today's speech was that our Honorable Prime Minister tackled these issues, and he showed us ways how to solve these.
I'm very grateful towards PM Modi. He is able to take out time for us. And one of the in his speeches, he mentioned that to build trust towards your parents, you always have to tell truth. You have to be open towards them, no matter what is your problem. I personally like that part of the speech.
Absolutely. Trust building was also discussed. And if I talk about social media, you all come from digital era, having digital gadgets in your hand. So there was a long section of social media and how to balance this social media usage in your lives so that it can help you in your examinations. What are you taking home from today's PMs?
Yeah, one of his things which he mentioned in his speech, it was that we have to, every time when we appear for the parikshas, we have to be, free. We don't take too much burden, pressure when we are appearing for the exams. We should be relaxed and just, enjoy the exams.
Of course, we should be relaxed and we should enjoy the exam time. A lot of physical fitness, yoga, all this was also discussed and told by Prime Minister to you. What are you perceiving from today?
I'm a sports person. I'm a state level at basketball, and I think it was a great experience. And being a sports person, Prime Minister just took the words of a the sports person. To be honest, what I wanted to convey to my friends also, that we can also manage sports with studies, and also sports can be a beneficial key to manage your time. It's also with studies also, and it also helps you improve focus.
How will PM's tips and mantras will help you in your exam journey?
So for me, I will try to spend less time on phones and laptops. I would try to study by books only, because in the digital era, it's like that we are studying from phone and laptops only. So I will try to study by books and spend more time on reading and writing, except of just scrolling reels on Instagram, because it sometimes happens.
Absolutely. So Anil, as you can see, this is the kind of Josh we are witnessing here in Bharat Mandapam. Over to you, Anil.
Okay, Kriti, also, put this into perspective for us. This is the 7th edition of, Pariksha Pe Charcha. But how's been the journey, especially when it comes to the bonding that Prime Minister's had? I did hear a kid mention about how, he understood, the Prime Minister understands the pulse of what happens in every household, the interaction that parents have with kids. Put this into perspective, the last 7 years, the last 7 editions of Pariksha Pe Charcha, and how this time around kids have gained immensely.
Right. Anil, Pariksha Pe Charcha started in 2018 and India had its new education policy in 2020 in COVID times. So there have been a lot of reforms if we talk about the entire education system in India, and that is what PM was addressing, the kind of flexibility education system has provided to students, especially to higher secondary students who are on the urge of making their careers, who have opted several subjects and who are in the dilemma of what to do, how to prepare for exams. So this is all which was discussed, and these were the mantras and tips given by PM, and it is very much there in his book which he has published for this special edition, the new revised version of Exam Warrior. And PM was again and again telling all the students that they have to take this exam time as a celebration. Likewise, they celebrate the other festivals at home, and the coordination between teachers, educators and parents is must needed in this exam time. So this is how PM has addressed the nation. He spoke around 2 hours thoroughly to these students, and it was at times we witnessed some hilarious jokes were also there. He was using some pleasantry lines where he was laughing himself with children, with students of the nation. And let me tell you that around 21 questions were put up here in Pariksha Pe Charcha today, and from Ladakh in north to Tamil Nadu in south, and every part of the country, I mean, parents, teachers and students have sent their questions to PM, and very cleverly, in a very pleasant way, PM addressed all 20 questions today in Pariksha Pe Charcha.
Paucity of time, Kriti, but quickly taking your view, especially when it comes to advice that was given to parents and teachers, especially to parents about not using the child's report card as a visiting card, or for dreams that parents have not been able to fulfill, putting pressure on the kids to deliver those unfulfilled promises.
Yes, if I just talk about the parents, so PM addressed in a very simple way that a healthy competition has to be developed within families, even if it is about 2 siblings. So there has to be a healthy competition, because there were a lot of questions, consecutively 3 questions came up for peer participation, and so very cleverly PM addressed in a way that a balance in home itself is needed when it comes to examination. Eating habits was also discussed here, and day-to-day routine, how to follow a timetable. So on very small, minute details, PM has addressed the students of the nation today. Over to you, Anil.
We'll leave it there. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on DD India News Hour. Well, still to come on DD India News Hour. Russian Pacific Fleet conducts anti-submarine drills off the coast of South China Sea. Farmers' protest continues in France while French government steps up measures. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian visits Pakistan.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Adil Thomas. Moving to more international stories, a Hong Kong court on Monday has ordered the liquidation of mega property group Evergrande. Chinese property giant Evergrande had about $300 billion in liability. The group has failed to offer a concrete restructuring plan despite months of delays and several court hearings. Evergrande shares fell by more than 20% in Hong Kong after the announcement on Monday. Trading in the shares has now been suspended as there is a circuit that's been hit. Beijing, meanwhile, is grappling with an underperforming economy, which is among the worst property market in 9 years, with more than 50 Chinese real estate developers turning defaulters. Well, DD India's Patrick Falk joins us from Hong Kong. Patrick, good afternoon. How does one see this crisis that's unfolding, especially when it comes to the Chinese economy and Chinese housing sector in particular?
Well, look, it couldn't really come at a worse time for the Chinese government, which has been trying to stem a massive market rout, and it has been introducing measures to try and shore up the property sector in particular. But this ruling today has inevitably dampened sentiment in the market. At the same time, though, people were perfectly aware of the state of turmoil that Evergrande has been in. So in that sense, some of this would have been priced into the market already. But, it does mean that there is uncertainty moving forward for China's property sector. In particular, reports are saying that there may be as many as 1.5 million people left with unfinished properties as a result of the ruling today. So that is something that the government is going to have to deal with, and there is a possible risk of social instability as a result of it.
Patrick, is this Chinese economy, a ticking time bomb?
Well, the Chinese economy is certainly facing a lot of headwinds at the moment, and it is navigating a very difficult period. But this case was also being watched very closely indeed for significant legal ramifications, particularly because, this has never really happened before, where we've got a Hong Kong court that is issuing a winding up order, which essentially needs to be put in effect in the mainland. Liquidators do not have the power to enforce this sort of liquidation order, and therefore it relies on the mainland courts playing ball, essentially. Now, China did agree 2 years ago to recognize these sorts of insolvency orders, particularly in the cities of Shenzhen, Shanghai and Xiamen. But in practice, it's been very difficult to put that in place. And to date, there has only been one such order that has been recognized by the mainland courts.
Okay. Patrick, quickly, there is a saying that, when US sneezes, the rest of the world catches cold. But looking at the current situation that China faces, is that a cause of concern, especially for, the world in particular?
Well, I think a lot of people are very much concerned about the situation that the Chinese economy is in right now, and the stock market is performing weakly, and we have been seeing reports suggesting that it has lost $6 trillion in value. But at the same time, the US economy is showing tremendous resilience at this time. So that is also something that the government will be mindful, that this sort of gap, this race to become the world's #1 economy is seemingly drifting further away for China right now.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us this afternoon on DD India News Hour. China's Supreme Court and Hong Kong's Department of Justice said on Monday that they signed an agreement on the reciprocal recognition and enforcement of judgment in civil as well as commercial cases, effective immediately in both places. Hong Kong's Department of Justice said in a statement that the arrangement reduces the need for parties to relitigate the same dispute in the mainland and Hong Kong courts, reducing the risk, legal costs and time usually associated with the cross-boundary enforcement of such judgments. It is unclear how the reciprocal recognition and enforcement arrangement would work in practice, as there has been no previous precedent with the mainland. Hong Kong is the only jurisdiction to have an agreement with the mainland on reciprocal recognition and enforcement and judgment with such a wide coverage. Moving on, 3 US service members have been killed and at least 34 injured in a drone attack by an Iran-backed terrorist on US troops in northeastern Jordan near the Syrian border, according to US President Joe Biden and US officials. The attack marks a major escalation in tensions that have engulfed the Middle East amid concerns about Israel's war with Hamas militants could spread into a wider conflict involving Iran's proxies in Lebanon, Yemen and Iraq. It is the first deadly strike against US forces since the Israel-Hamas conflict erupted in October and marks a major escalation in tensions that has engulfed the Middle East. US President Joe Biden said that the United States will respond to the weekend attack that killed 3 US service members. Meanwhile, Iran has denied involvement in the drone attack that killed 3 US service members in northeastern Jordan near Syria border. Iran has termed the claims as baseless, as per Iran's foreign ministry spokesman Nazir Kanani. He said that the continuation of US strikes on Syria and Iraq, as well as the conflict in Gaza, will only intensify a cycle of instability in the region. He further added that resistance groups do not take orders from the Islamic Republic. Satellite imagery firm Planet Labs on Sunday released a file photograph of a military outpost in Jordan known as Star 22 that was struck by an unmanned aerial drone attack, killing 3 US service members. Tower 22 holds a strategically important location in Jordan at the northeastern point where the country's border meets Syria and Iraq. The satellite imagery's release came as Jordan's official government spokesperson, Bonabad al-Mubaidin, condemned the terrorist attack and said that the kingdom will confront security threats. US military Al-Tanf has been key in the fight against Islamic State and has assumed a role as part of the US strategy to contain Iran's military buildup in eastern Syria. Russian troops have hit Ukrainian ammunition and fuel depots in the 2 areas in Dnipropetrovsk and also Zaporizhzhia. The Russian Defense Ministry said on Sunday that the Russian forces repelled multiple attacks from Ukraine in the directions of Kupiansk, Kransk-Liman, Donetsk, Kherson and other regions. In addition, 118 artillery units in firing positions, manpower and military hardware were hit in 137 areas. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Air Force carried out strikes on areas where Russian military personnel, weapons and military equipment were concentrated, destroying Russian military artilleries. Ukraine's security service said it had uncovered a corruption scheme in the purchase of arms as the war with Russia approached a 3rd year. The security service released a statement that said the group, including high-ranking former and current defense ministry officials and businessmen, are suspected of taking nearly 40 million of state money without supplying any of the 1 lakh mortar shells in a contract with the military. The new case is the latest in a string of military procurement scandals that are undermining the Zelensky government's efforts to weed out military-linked graft. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky voiced the danger of the Ukrainian conflict escalation into World War III as he pressed his case for support from nations from Germany to the United States. In an interview with the German state broadcaster, Zelensky warned that if Russia struck a NATO country, it would be the beginning of the Third World War. He also urged Germany to use its economic weight to gather more support for Ukraine in the fight against Russia from EU partners. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky declared his personal income for the first time since the outbreak of war with Russia as part of his efforts to increase transparency in his government. In a post on the presidential website, Zelensky noted that his income had declined in 2021 and further in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine at the end of Feb. It was the first time he publicly declared his income. In 2021, the year before the invasion, Zelensky and his family reported an income of $285,000. The 2021 figures include income from the sale of $142,000 worth of government bonds. In 2022, the Zelensky family's income fell further to $97,800 as he earned less rental income from real estate he owned because of the outbreak of the armed conflict. The Russian Pacific Fleet frigate, the Marshal Spashovinskov, conducted anti-submarine drills off the coast of South China Sea on Monday, a Russian news agency reported, citing the Navy's press service. The warship detected a mock enemy submarine and confirmed its coordinates with the help of helicopter crew, which reported that the warship fired a variety of anti-submarine weapons. According to Russia's state news agency, the ships left the port in Vladivostok in Russia's Far East on Jan 22nd. In France, farmers continued the nationwide protest demanding better pay and living conditions, with the government's dropping plans to gradually reduce state subsidies on agricultural diesel. The protests have led to roadblocks on motorways and damage to property, including local government offices. The French government has stepped up security measures as farmers prepare to converge in Paris. French farming minister has said that France wants a decision this week to change EU's nature law regulations regarding agricultural services, which have to remain under the new biodiversity rules in order to help the country's farmers. The ministry said the government, under pressure from nationwide farmers' protest, was still working on other concessions they could give to farmers in the coming 48 hours to improve their working conditions. Well, Italian farmers have also joined their European counterparts in protesting for almost a week to denounce the European Union's agricultural policies. Protests are ongoing in Italy's major urban centers, including Rome, Florence, Milan, and Naples. The demonstrators reportedly used tractors on highways to reach the cities, mostly affecting the road traffic entering and leaving urban centers. They are protesting against the increase in the price of diesel. Well, thousands of demonstrators turned out in Munich on Sunday as part of an independently organized protest against the German government and its fiscal policies. The protest ran under the motto "Hand in Hand for our country" and called for more government help for small and middle-sized businesses. Many at the protest were also against money being spent on Ukraine. Finland headed to the polls to pick a new president on Sunday to lead the country in its new role within NATO after it broke with decades of non-alignment to join the Western Defense Alliance in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A second-round runoff between the top contenders, Alexander Stubb and Pekka Haavisto, will be held on Feb 11th if no candidate obtains more than 50% of the votes in Sunday's election. Both are promising a tough stance towards Russia to lead on the foreign and security policy in close cooperation with the government, representing the country at NATO meetings while also acting as a commander-in-chief of the Finnish Defense Forces. The Austrian Foreign Ministry on Monday said that Austria is suspending payments to the United Nations Palestinian Aid Agency, United Nations UNRWA, calling a comprehensive, swift and full investigation into accusations that the agency's employees were involved in the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. Earlier on Sunday, Japan has also expressed concern over the allegations, joining Britain, Germany, United States, Australia, Canada, among other countries, in pausing funding to the aid agency, a critical source of support for people in Gaza. Meanwhile, UN officials have urged countries to reconsider their funding pause for UNRWA. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian and his Pakistani counterpart Jalil Abbas Jilani met at Islamabad today and discussed bilateral cooperation between Pakistan and Iran. They underscored the importance of robust dialogue and cooperation in bilateral relations. The two sides agreed to work towards promoting the mutually desired goals of peace and prosperity based on mutual respect and a collective approach to address common challenges. The visit comes after the two nations narrowly avoided an armed conflict after Iran unilaterally targeted alleged sites of militants inside the Pakistan border area. Iran simultaneously has launched 3 satellites for the first time on Sunday using the Simorgh satellite carrier rocket developed by the Ministry of Defense. The larger of the 3 satellites, named Mada, weighing 32 kilograms and built by Iran Space Agency, is meant to test the accuracy of the Simorgh rocket in delivering multiple cargoes to space. 2 nanosatellites of less than 10 kilograms each were sent to a minimum orbit of 450 kilograms and aim at testing narrowband communication and geopositioning technology. In Pakistan, the Election Commission has released a complete polling scheme for the upcoming general elections on Feb 8th. Total of 90,675 polling stations would be re-established across the country. Meanwhile, the Election Commission of Pakistan issued a notice to Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf leader, Shoaib Shaheen, for allegedly violating the code of conduct in Islamabad. PTI leader Shoaib violated the election code by organizing the vehicle rally without prior approval from authorities. Meanwhile, students in Gilgit-Baltistan who were currently enrolled in the University of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir gathered in front of Muzaffarabad Press Club on Sunday to express their aggression against the atrocities inflicted by the Pakistan regime. People of Gilgit-Baltistan were protesting for the lack of basic amenities. Pakistani government is not providing electricity and healthcare facilities in the region. As a result, many people died before reaching the hospital. People were demanding the return of fundamental rights from the Pakistan government. Moreover, shops, markets, restaurants and trade centers were closed in various areas of Gilgit-Baltistan. A quick look at some other stories making news around the world. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with Prime Minister of Thailand, Shetet Thaksin, on Monday. The two leaders discussed trade and connectivity, including railway between China, Laos and Thailand. Earlier, they agreed to waive visa requirements for each other's citizens to facilitate travel and tourism. 3 foreign-born residents of Japan have filed a lawsuit against the national and local governments with the Tokyo District Court on Monday. They alleged illegal questioning by police based on racial profiling. The first-of-the-kind lawsuit seeks $23,313 in compensation for each plaintiff. It comes amid a sharp increase in the number of foreign workers to compensate for labor shortages in the country, which is seeing its population decline.
We'll talk soon.
The 2024 World Digital Education Conference opened in Shanghai on Monday. The 3-day event is aimed to build a high-level platform for international exchange in digital education with the theme Digital Education, Application, Sharing and Innovation. American actress and television producer Sarah Jessica Parker made her West End debut on Sunday. She is bringing a Broadway revival to the 1960s play Plaza Suit in London with her husband and co-star Matthew Broderick. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India-Saudi Arabia joint military exercise Sadat Tanish kicks off in Rajasthan. Indian envoy Sudhakar Dalele congratulates Shering Tobgay for assuming charge as Bhutan's Prime Minister.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such change makers.
Watch Change Makers on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Anil Thomas. Beating retreating ceremony will be held at the historic. India's Prime Minister interacts with school children, teachers and parents in the 7th edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha. Three US troops killed in drone strike on US base near Jordan's border with Syria in Middle East. US President blames radical Iran-backed militant groups while Iran denies involvement. Crisis hit Chinese property giant Evergrande ordered to liquidate by Hong Kong court. Developer with $300 billion in debt fails to provide restructuring plan. Well, moving forward, U.S. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley started a campaign rally in South Carolina on Sunday. Haley mourned with a moment of silence for the families of 3 U.S. service members who were killed in an aerial drone attack on U.S. forces in Jordan. Haley said it is absolutely shameful and those families need to be lifted up. She's trying to gain momentum against Trump after coming in 3rd place behind him in the Iowa caucus and 2nd place in New Hampshire. Both are now seeking victory in South Carolina.
Thank you so much. God bless. As a military spouse, we lost 3 of our heroes today. And I will tell you the fact that we lost 3 and dozens were wounded after 160 attacks on our men and women in the military. It is absolutely shameful. But what we need to remember is those families need to be lifted up today.
Well, North Korea tested its new strategic cruise missiles for the 2nd time in a week, calling it a newly developed submarine-launched cruise missile. The missiles flew above the sea off the country's east coast and hit an unspecified island target. The state news agency released photographs of Kim supervising on Sunday the test of the missile called Pulwashai 331, which is identical to the strategic cruise missile that the North said last week were under development. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said that the missile will add a strategic significance in carrying out the plan for modernizing the army, which aims at building a powerful naval force. Well, news just coming in, Russia's President Vladimir Putin has been registered as a candidate for the March 15 to 17th presidential election. The Interfax news agency has cited the Central Election Commission as saying so on Monday. Supporters and opponents alike expect Putin to stroll to a new 6-year term, which, if he completes, that would make him Russia's longest-serving ruler since the 18th century. Those standing against him include anti-war candidate Boris Netizens have until Wednesday to gather the required number of supporters' signatures to back their campaigns. Responding to immediate requirements of Papua New Guinea, India provided $1 million as immediate relief assistance. The aid was airlifted to Kimbe from Port Moresby with the help of Australian Air Force. India has been among the first relief providers to the island nation. Last year in November, India extended aid in the wake of the volcanic eruption. The inaugural edition of India-Saudi Arabia joint military exercise called Sadat Tanishq commenced today in Rajasthan. The exercise is scheduled to be conducted from Monday, that's today, the 29th of January to the 10th of Feb. The Saudi Arabian contingent comprises 45 personnel and it's been represented by the Royal Saudi Land Forces. The aim of the exercise is to train troops of both sides for joint operations in semi-desert terrain under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter. The exercise will involve establishment of mobile vehicle checkpost, cordon and search operation, house intervention drill, reflex shooting, siltering and sniper firing. The exercise will provide an opportunity to both the contingents to strengthen their bond. It will act as a platform to achieve shared security objectives, enhance the level of defense cooperation and foster bilateral relations between the two friendly nations. Well, Indian naval forces have gained international praise for their timely help to a commercial oil tanker that was struck by a missile in the Gulf of Aden. The Marshall Islands flagged Marlin Luande issued a distress call on Friday and reported damage. The USS Carney and other coalition ships were providing assistance to the tanker. India's Navy deployed INS Visakhapatnam, a guided missile destroyer, after receiving a distress call from the Martin Luande, which had 22 Indians and one Bangladeshi crew on board, according to the Indian Navy spokesman. British journalist Mark Urban said, among the emerging great powers, fascinating to see how India has risen in the crisis in the Gulf of Aden and Red Sea, China not so much. While historian Martin Sobre posted on social media, India takes over superpower rising, stop drooling over China. The Indian envoy to Bhutan, Sudhakar Dalela, met the newly elected Bhutanese Prime Minister, sharing Tobgay. He conveyed greetings of India's leadership on his assumption of responsibility as the Prime Minister of Bhutan. Ambassador also affirmed countries committed to working closely to further strengthen India-Bhutan ties. Earlier this month, Indian Prime Minister extended his greetings to the People's Democratic Party for its win in the recent parliamentary elections. The Indian envoy to Bhutan, Sudhakar Dalela, also met with the newly appointed Bhutanese Foreign Minister. He conveyed his greetings on India's Foreign Minister's behalf on his assumption of responsibility as Bhutan's Minister of Foreign Affairs and External Trade. As the world today is applauding India's economic growth story, a senior United Nations official said that the world needs India, as the businesses in the country have been leading in terms of investing in social causes, and stressed that business is the key driver that will deliver the sustainable development goals. The United Nations resident coordinator in India, Shombi Sharp, also said that corporate social responsibility, or CSR, is indispensable in India's journey, where businesses are at the forefront in their efforts of the country to become a 5 trillion economy. He noted that India has been leading the world in CSR, especially with its recent leadership during the COP28 summit. Besides, the government of India has been taking various efforts to boost CSR activities across the country. On the sidelines of the recently concluded World Economic Forum in Davos, CEO of Atlantic Council Fred Kempe said India will be right at the top in the list of countries that are going to shape the future. When asked what excites and concerns him more about India and its growth story, The American think tank CEO talked about the strength of the Indian diaspora in the US. Kempe further said that India's demographics, education and technological know-how excite him the most. He went on to say that the global presence of India is on its way up and there's no doubt about it. Well, let's take a look at some other stories making news. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar inaugurated the Indian Hotels Company Limited Hospitality Skills Centre today in the West Indian state of Gujarat. He interacted with the first batch of students selected for front offices and training. He also talked about the Statue of Unity and the growing tourism in the city of Ekta Nagar. Indian politician Lalu Prasad Yadav appeared before the Enforcement Directorate in Bihar's capital Patna today. The former Chief Minister of Bihar has been summoned in connection with the alleged land for job scam. He arrived along with his daughter and co-accused Prasar Bharati. Officials of India's Enforcement Directorate made a visit to Chief Minister of Eastern State of Jharkhand, Hemant Soren's house on Monday. The visit follows fresh summons from the agency to Soren, which requested his participation in an ongoing money laundering investigation. Well, fresh snowfall blanketed parts of Kupwara district in northern India's Jammu and Kashmir as the region continues to grapple with a cold wave. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Musical extravaganza, beating retreat ceremony to be held in New Delhi today. Maharashtra leads the medals tally at the Khelo India Youth Games in Tamil Nadu.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Anil Thomas. The meeting retreat ceremony will take place today at New Delhi's Vijay Chowk to mark the end of the Republic Day festivities in India. The ceremony is held every year in India on the evening of Jan 29th, 3 days after Republic Day. The ceremony will feature musical performances by the bands of the Indian military marching on Shkant, the martial tune, motivating all to contribute towards nation building. One of the tunes to be played at the beating retreat ceremony shows the glimpses of the Indian Army with one of the Indian songs, Faulad Ka Jigar.
हम डर से बेखबर जांबाज मस्त मिजाज हम न मौत की फिकर औलाद का जिगर हम डर से बेखबर जांबाज मस्त मिजाज हम न मौत की फिकर औलाद का जिगर
You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for all sports updates. Things not looking good for India. Big blow that India has suffered.
Yes,
I've got Abhishek with all the details.
Yes, big setback for India, and we'll start with that story itself. India all-rounder Ravindra Jadeja is likely to miss the second test against England in Visakhapatnam after suffering an injury on day 4 of the first test match in Hyderabad. Jadeja appeared to have pulled his hamstring, which could explain his game-changing run-out during India's second innings in Hyderabad. Jadeja was run out by Ben Stokes. Doctors examined Jadeja and advised him to rest because he is currently having difficulty walking and is not in optimal health. A decision on his participation in the second test will be taken soon by the BCCI. Hockey now. India crushed Jamaica by 13 goals to 0 in their third and final Pool B match to enter the quarterfinals of the FIH Hockey5s Men's World Cup in Muscat, Oman. Maninder Singh struck 4 goals while Raheel Mohammad and Mandeep Moore struck a brace. India secured a commanding 4-0 lead within the first 6 minutes of the game. They scored 6 goals in the first half, and it was a similar situation in the second half as the Indian players netted 7 goals. Yesterday, India started their campaign in the tournament with an emphatic victory, defeating Switzerland 9-1. But in their second match of the day against Egypt, India lost the game by 6 goals to 8. And the men's FIH Hockey5s World Cup 2024 is taking place in Oman from January 28th to 31st, featuring 16 teams competing in 4 pools. Indian shooting team had yet another day to remember at the International Shooting Sport Federation World Cup in Cairo. Divyan Singh Pawar shot a world record 253.7 in the final to clinch the air rifle gold in the World Cup. It was the 4th World Cup gold for the 21-year-old Divyansh, following the ones he had won in Munich, Beijing and Delhi since 2019. The former world #1 Olympian beat Danilo Sollazzo of Italy by 1.9 points for the gold. In women's 10-meter air rifle competition, Sonam Uttamaskar bagged silver in her first International Shooting Sport Federation World Cup. Sonam shot 252.1 in the 8 women final, finishing 0.9 behind Germany's Anna Janssen. India is now firmly on the top of the season opening World Cup stage with 2 gold medals and 3 silver medals in their kitty. All right, we'll talk about Khelo India Games now. Indian athletes compete in various disciplines: shooting, archery, badminton, football, kho-kho, kalaripayattu, swimming, table tennis, among others, at the Khelo India Youth Games, which is underway in southern state of Tamil Nadu. India's western state of Maharashtra leads the medal tally with 37 gold medals, 32 silver and 40 bronze, while Tamil Nadu is at the second position with 29 golds, 18 silver and 30 bronze medals, followed by Haryana with 29 gold medals. All right, we'll go across to Chennai now. DD India's Deepika Mahato is joining us live from there. Good afternoon, Deepika. Maharashtra on top again with 37 gold medals so far. They had won 56 gold medals in the last edition, which they won, and they had won the title in 2019 and 20 also. Tell us, what do you think is the biggest reason that they are doing so well and they are constantly on top?
Good afternoon, Abhishek. When we talk about all the current editions of Khelo India Youth Games, this is the 6th edition which is going on. And as you said, Maharashtra has consistently maintained its position so far throughout the tournament. We had a word with various Maharashtra teams of various sporting events and disciplines which they are playing at this edition. And they said that the kind of facilities that they are getting through the help of Khelo India Youth Games and the early exposure to the national event that they got earlier has really helped them to maintain their consistency throughout throughout. And not only it is about Maharashtra, but it is also about Haryana. You would remember hockey women's team, kabaddi women's team, and Haryana's representation at wrestling also. It is always at par, and Haryana has also maintained consistency throughout the event here. We also had a word with the hockey winning gold team members of Haryana, and they said that the kind of facilities that they are getting, and when we talk about especially about the talent identification, which started at a very early age in these states, they are really helping all the athletes to maintain consistency at Khelo India Youth Games. But interestingly here, the point to be noted, Abhishek, is Tamil Nadu is also emerging as one of the most important state across Khelo India's representation at the youth level, and they are consistently in top 3. We just have 2 more days to go, and we would have the final day, the closing ceremony. That would be the day when this will be decided, that who will be at the top of the points table. You would remember in the Haryana edition of Khelo India Youth Games, the table toppers were decided after the closing ceremony because the matches were still going on, and there was a lot of intense competition that we witnessed over there. So similarly, we're going to witness a lot of heated competition and events here across the remaining 2 days that are yet to be witnessed, Abhishek.
Deepika, also, what kind of competition are we witnessing in this edition, and what all sports are witnessing a tough competition?
I think all the sports, Abhishek, if we talk about the 27 sports disciplines which are being played at Khelo India Youth Games, all are really competitive. In archery, you would see there are many Arjun awardees. There are players who've represented India at Asian Games. In swimming also, we had a word with Linesha, who had participated in the Asian Games. She also met Prime Minister Narendra Modi after the event. So this is the level of competition that they are facing. Not only this, in weightlifting, if we particularly talk about Parv Chaudhary of UP, he bagged a gold medal today morning, and this was his first ever Khelo India edition, and this was also his first ever national level event. So you can see the level of competition and the variety that we are witnessing. It is a mix of both experienced legs as well as newcomers who are coming at Khelo India Youth Games. So even if they are not winning medals from here, they are at least taking a lot of experience back home, Abhishek.
And you must have spoken with the athletes. Are they excited? How big they think is an opportunity for them?
It is indeed a very big opportunity. We've been having conversations with every sports medalist, every sports athlete and medalist as well as here, Abhishek. And most importantly, what they get here is the Khelo India sponsorship that becomes really important for them over here. The Khelo India sponsorship is given to the medalists over here, and they are under the scheme. They get 10,000 rupees monthly to maintain their diet, health and fitness. Not only this, the platform, the infrastructure which is being given through the Khelo India scheme, and especially the various editions of Khelo India Youth Games, and per se, if we talk about the Para Games and other international events, the kind of opportunity that they are getting makes it even more important. We had a word with all the players who are participating at Khelo India Youth Games for the first time, and they said, especially the squash team, they said that they were eagerly waiting to participate at Khelo India Youth Games, and some of the players also agreed that they were really jealous when they saw other players participating, getting a chance to represent their state at the Khelo India Youth Games. And now that they are here, they are a bit nervous also, but all excited to represent their state, bag medal, do something for themselves and prepare themselves for bigger international events, Abhishek.
All right, Deepika, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. We'll keep taking updates from you. The West Bengal team has bagged gold in women's volleyball competition. Women have created history in sporting arena, and the past few years have witnessed a remarkable change. DD India's Deepika spoke to the gold medal winning player.
We are here with the gold medalist of volleyball. The gold has come from Team West Bengal. They've defended the title for 3 times in the past, and this time also they bagged a gold medal. Many congratulations to you. How difficult was the match?
The match was tough because it's a final match. We played good. Our team worked hard.
And when we talk about West Bengal coming into sports of late, the development has grown really multifold. Do you think sports is getting a lot of attention these years?
Yes. I think that sports, volleyball is getting a little popular nowadays.
And especially when we talk about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he came for the inauguration ceremony also, and he mentioned about Khelo India in his Mann Ki Baat edition also. So do you think sports is getting a lot of motivation, especially the players, the young players participating in it?
Yes, I think that it is getting popular, and it will be good for our players because there is a bright future for us. They all play with motivation, inspiration and all things. So we think that it will be more good if it will get a little bit more attention.
And to whom are you dedicating your gold medal?
To all our team members, obviously. They work hard, and our coaches and all. Thanks to all of them.
All right, that's all we have in sports updates. Back to you, Anil.
Well, thank you, Abhishek, for those quick updates there from the world of sports. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, Instagram. You can visit our website, ddindia.co.in. We're going to be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Anil Thomas. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.